I saw a bumper sticker on a car in front of me that said, "Make Orwell fiction again."
That's pretty perfect. Welcome to Disrupted Science, the occasional conversation between the authors of the upcoming book, How the Internet Disrupted Science, now available for pre-order. I'm Kent Anderson, here with my co-author, Joy Moore, and today is Wednesday, March 25th, 2026. Hey, Joy.
Hey Kent,
How's it
how's it
going?
going?
Ah!
Jinx.
So we've got a really good conversation today. We should probably get to it pretty quickly because
Yeah.
we're not nearly as smart and entertaining as our guest Amanda Licastro,
Mhm.
who is here to talk about AI. She just participated in a debate at Researcher to Reader and swayed the room to be a little more skeptical about AI in scientific and scholarly publishing, which I applaud wholeheartedly, and I think you do
Mhm.
too.
Yeah,
And she knows her stuff. So
she does. And I think there's a number of, I frantically took notes during our conversation, but I think the biggest takeaways for me that I found very reassuring is um, the students that she's working with and understanding generationally what their attitudes towards technology is, and that while some of us old folks and even older folks are assuming inevitability, the younger generations are either questioning or even rebelling against it in ways that I think that are reassuring. And so kudos to professors and educators like Amanda who are taking this seriously and
absolutely.
teeing up the rest of us with this new generation.
Yeah, and being super smart about it. I mean,
Mhm.
I think one thing you'll hear in the interview is how active she and her team are in the community,
Hmm.
both at the school and surrounding community, and now now with the help of Rick Anderson and Researcher to Reader in scientific publishing. So I think it's great to have ambassadors of skepticism, I guess,
Hmm.
and we would join her in that. So. All right, without further ado, here is our interview with Amanda Licastro. Today, we're joined by Amanda Licastro, Head of Digital Scholarship Strategies and Visiting Associate Professor in English at Swarthmore College. Amanda recently participated in one of Rick Anderson's debates at the Researcher to Reader conference in London. This one was titled Resolved. AI tools will provide a net benefit to scholarly communication, and Amanda took the side of opposing that statement. In these debates, a poll is taken before the participants speak to gauge audience sentiment at the outset. Then, after the speakers exchange opening statements and responses, the poll is repeated. Some years ago, I participated in one about preprints and flipped the audience sentiment from pro preprint to not, something Rick said he'd never seen happen before. So it caught my attention when I saw that Amanda had done something similar on a topic that is of far greater importance. While I don't remember the sentiment split in my event before and after, in her case, before the start of the debate, 80% of the audience believed AI would be a net benefit to scholarly communication. After a professional and well-natured presentation of facts, 52% of the audience believed that AI would not be a net benefit to scholarly communications. Also, as two English majors, we wanted to talk to Amanda just because of that. So, welcome, Amanda. It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
It's
Yeah.
wonderful to meet you.
How did you get invited to this debate in the first place? How did that
That's a great
happen?
question. So, our scholarly communications librarian here at Swarthmore had seen a call looking for speakers. I believe Rick put out that call. And she wrote to me and said, I think you would be perfect for this. Do you mind if I nominate you? So Maria had nominated me. And then Rick wrote to me and said, we'd love to have you. I put together kind of a proposal of what I would talk about, gave him some of my credentials. And it went from there. And this is my first time attending that conference, but it was also my first time kind of doing a public debate in this manner. I have debates in my classes where students debate on topics, but it was my first time participating in this exact format. And it was really fun. It was really, I think, the kind of format that proves that civil discourse actually matters and that people will change their minds when presented with facts, which I think maybe some of us have lost hope that that happens
Right?
Yeah.
at this
Hmm.
point in time.
Yep.
And so, can you tell us a little bit more about what it was like? And the audience at the Research to Reader conference is different than your normal classroom debates. So, who was there, and what was different or new for you?
Yeah. In my job as both head of digital scholarship and an associate professor of English, I kind of have two main audiences. I obviously teach English classes, which are for undergraduate students. So these are mostly traditional aged college students. They're 18 to 22 years old at a liberal arts college. So they're very interested in learning, right? They're very
Hmm.
committed to the learning process. They're here because they are ambitious and um, they're very interdisciplinary students, right? They want to know about everything. And then my other audience would be faculty and staff, right? I have co-led the critical AI inquiry group at Swarthmore for 4 years now. We meet monthly to talk about issues facing AI in higher education. So actually, this week is AI and wellness.
Hmm.
Last month was AI and academic integrity. Next month is agentic AI. You get kind of the sense of things.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That seems like a really healthy practice for the school to have.
Yeah, absolutely. So we meet monthly with, a catered breakfast, and we talk about these issues. We bring in experts from all over the world, to kind of lead these discussions, and then we do hands-on kind of
Hmm.
activities around the topics. So I have this perspective that's mainly from the faculty and staff working in higher education and the students, right, in my classes. The Reader to Researcher conference was mostly academic publishers, right? So people
Hmm.
working more in industry, who have an industry perspective on things, who are working outside of institutions, but maybe in collaboration with the institutions. So, really vastly different conversations happening. I was surprised by how different the
Hmm.
language, the approach, kind of the attitude towards AI is.
Hmm.
Yeah. So can you go on a little bit more about that and elaborate on the differences that you observed?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say that on my campus at Swarthmore, we are largely an AI resistant campus, and that's across the board, including students. I think most of the popular media pieces you see about AI are saying students are cheating. Everyone's using it for cheating. They're all cheating, right?
Right, right. Yeah.
That's
There are
kind
whole
of the
books like
common
that
consensus.
out there. Yeah.
It is not the case in Swarthmore. And in fact, in many of the liberal arts institutions, I actually went to a conference on AI in liberal arts institutions. We're seeing what I call an intergenerational divide. So your junior and senior students are very resistant to the point of refusal. Like if they get an assignment where they have to use AI, they will say no.
Hmm.
Wow.
And that is because of their ethical concerns. They're
Hmm.
deeply concerned about the environmental impact. They're deeply concerned about labor exploitation. They're deeply concerned about the companies that run these tools. So, OpenAI, Meta, Google,
Right.
and their political affiliations and supports.
Hmm.
Um, and they're also worried about AI taking their jobs, right?
Right.
They are
Hmm.
graduating from college, looking at an entry level job market where people are saying that AI could do those entry level jobs. And they obviously don't want to consider themselves replaceable by
Right.
machines.
Right.
And then you have the first and second year students, many of whom were asked to use AI in the K through 12 system. We know
Hmm.
that AI companies are predatory in their approach to K through 12 education,
Hmm.
trying to create those lifelong customers.
Yep.
And you also have a set of teachers who have not been given a lot of professional development opportunities around AI. They're just kind of being told,
Hmm.
you need to learn how to use this in your classrooms, but not really given that kind of ethical framework around it.
Hmm.
I have done my research on this. Every state is developing their own individual AI guidelines, and they're wildly different, right? So in
Wow.
Pennsylvania, for example, it's the Department of Education is like, you should be using it in all sorts of ways. Do your best to integrate it at every level. The Delaware are saying absolutely don't use it. This is a privacy concern. This is a safety
Wow.
concern, right? So,
Wow.
what is a teacher to do, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So the besides having, kind of exposure to it in K through 12, we also have college counselors telling students
Hmm.
to use it. So the average caseload for a college counselor is 700 to 1.
Wow.
Let that sink in.
Yeah, that's
They're
untenable.
counseling 700 students on how to get into college,
Yeah,
right? So of course
Yeah.
they're using AI because
right.
that's an unbearable course
Yeah,
caseload. So
yeah,
they're using AI to find colleges. They're telling students to use AI to prepare their application materials,
right. Their essays,
right?
all that.
So then students are getting those first and second years, students are getting into college expecting to use AI.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by this intergenerational divide is you have
Um,
actually students in the same class who have been given completely different perspectives on
So
these
they're
tools.
being groomed in a way from K through 12 and coming in, and the older students are saying, "Whoa, no, not good."
wow.
Interesting, interesting. So I wanted to kind of go back to the debate setting
Yes.
and all of that. So, you were nice enough to share your notes from the debate with us, and it immediately struck me that you brought the kind of discipline to the thinking about this that English majors would appreciate, which is interrogating words that have implicit claims, right? Like artificial and intelligence.
Mhm.
And arguing from the get-go that these things are neither, right? They're
Correct.
manufactured and they're computational,
Yes.
right?
And they will never, the companies themselves say they will never be intelligent. It is not
No,
possible.
no,
Yeah.
no. They're language extrusion machines, right?
Right.
So, and then you also talked about the validity, accuracy, authority of these outputs, right? And kind of how mid they are.
I love that. Tressie McMillan Cotton's mid-tech
Yeah,
article in the New York Times is one of my favorite, especially to point students to because they call things mid, right?
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
That is
yeah,
their
It's
language.
like it's such a harsh,
yeah.
sick burn to call something mid. And I love the
Mid,
way that people are starting to use that language
And
about
let's like for a Swarthmore student, they don't want to be mid.
no.
And I think that's where we're talking about the difference between kind of industry and education is maybe you're okay with mid results at an industry level, right? So
hmm,
maybe you're okay with your output just being good enough to get you to the next step. But my students want to be exceptional, right? My
hmm,
students want to be the best.
right,
They want their original content to be valued above, right, everyone else's.
right.
And
They've
they're
got
not,
ambitions.
yes, exactly, right? Like,
Yeah.
again, preparing for those grad school applications or that job market, right? They want to be the standout candidate. They don't want mid results.
Hmm.
Hmm. And that
Yeah.
makes me think about a lot of the research products that are now in the libraries for students like yours, where they are applying they're putting primary research academic articles into AI and serving it back to students through these interfaces saying we're going to help you, this is a cheat sheet, we've done the thinking for you. Your students probably don't want anybody to do the thinking for them. They want to find their own original sources to support their own original ideas.
Absolutely. So this is kind of a personal hobby horse of mine, but we call this cognitive offloading.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So cognitive offloading is actually not new. We've been doing it for a long time. We've been doing it with
Hmm.
it's a calculator, right? You cognitive offload with a calculator. My
Right.
two favorite examples of cognitive offloading are spell check and Google Maps.
Hmm.
Right.
I bet you, I'll just ask you, what word do you always misspell because spell check always fixes it for you? Mine is definitely.
Okay.
What are your words that you always misspell? Because spell check just does it for you.
I don't know. I'm a good speller, so I don't know.
Oh, I have a new one every day because I
Yeah.
forget
Usually
how
when
to
I ask a
I
spell
end up
crowd, they
things.
fighting it
all
though
have
because I
It's
I
like,
usually use a word that it wants to correct, and I don't want it to correct it.
yeah.
when I
Yeah.
ask a crowd of this, you always hear the best answers like embarrassed,
Hmm.
restaurant,
Yeah,
Hmm.
um,
restaurant is a good one.
Yeah.
initiative is one, right? Like these
Yeah.
words that we don't actually know how to spell anymore because spell check automatically fixes it for you to the point
Right.
where you've never really learned how to spell it yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's cognitive offloading, where
Yeah.
a machine is kind of doing the process for you. I think Google Maps is another great example. I learned how to actually navigate from a paper map when I was a
Hmm.
kid But
Yep.
my
Uh-huh.
students, absolutely not. They've
Yep.
never learned to use a paper map, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Um, this is happening in a more intense level with artificial intelligence because, as Joy just pointed out, they're now integrated into our systems in ways that are not transparent and they're kind of obfuscating the use of AI.
Hmm.
This is done by those magic sparkle emojis,
Oh, I
right? That show
Yeah.
know.
up
Well, I
in the
wanted to talk
corner.
to you a little bit about some of the design techniques because you
Yes,
flagged these from fonts to layouts to structure to and the
absolutely.
sparkle. I mean, come on.
Uh,
It's like literally selling you magic.
it's like
Well,
fairy
it's
dust. Yeah.
infantilizing us too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The newest one, if you use Google Slides, the newest one is you'll see a banana emoji, and it's
Oh,
for
come
Nano
on.
Banana. And it turns your slides, your Google Slides, it says beautify your slides with a banana emoji. And it actually turns your slides into images, which erases the accessibility,
Hmm.
does not allow you to edit the slides anymore,
Right.
and also changes the content and often incorrectly.
Hmm.
I've been testing this tool. We have a new blog post out about it. Myself and my emerging technologies intern fellow Liz, we just posted a blog post about this, but it actually like removes the agency from the human by selling you beauty,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Bananas.
Right.
Like you're a monkey.
Yes, with
My
a
Yeah.
goodness.
banana. So yeah,
Yep.
there are all sorts of interesting ways that they're selling this, like bananas and sparkles and right, all of these like, oh, it's fun, it's harmless, it's
Right.
magic, when it's none
Right.
of those things, right? So
Yep.
going back to Joy's point, if you're in an academic database doing research and you see these magical sparkles and you click on them and it summarizes those academic articles for you. What I was hearing from the researchers and readers conference is like, oh, that's helpful, right? That makes things faster and more efficient for researchers. What I'm saying is, no, that's cognitive offloading,
Hmm.
right?
Mhm.
And we actually have brain scans to prove it. We have hard data to prove this. Is that when, especially students, use those features to offload the process of learning to summarize, of close reading, of critical analysis, not only do they lose the retention, so when quizzed a week later, when quizzed 4 weeks later, when quizzed 4 months later, they don't retain that information. They also actually, their brains atrophy. They
Hmm.
form fewer neural pathways
Mhm.
and they no longer can perform those tasks of
Hmm.
critical reading,
Use it
summary,
or lose it.
close reading.
Mhm.
So it's actually making us dumber on
Hmm.
purpose,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. I
And
think there was a
why would you be
study
in
about,
school to do that? Like, why would you be in college to get worse at something?
Why,
well,
why would
that,
you why would you be alive to get worse at things?
but especially if you've worked hard in school your whole life and you wanted to go to an institution like Swarthmore to to expand your brain, why would you want to get there and have these products that are telling you that they're smarter than you are already before you walked in the door is kind of what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if it's these tools are preying on real vulnerabilities. We are all pressed for time. These students are taking 5 course loads that are of incredibly demanding classes with very high reading and writing requirements.
Hmm.
We do increasingly have students who, are first generation college students who are students who speak multiple languages, who have other pressures on their time, such as caretaking for family, for friends, for extracurriculars, for making money for employment,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Jobs, right?
Um, all of these pressures are real, and these tools identify, oh, you don't have a lot of time. You might need help translating into English. You might not have the same preparation in terms of critical reading and writing that some of your peers do, and you feel you need these tools to equal the playing field, right? So they
Yeah.
are really identifying actual vulnerabilities in the education system,
And the
but they're
individuals in it, the
selling you this
psychological.
quick fix, right?
Yeah.
It's this
Right.
short-term gratification, but the long-term consequences are not being articulated.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's the danger, right?
Yeah, these time pressures have always existed.
Right.
We've since the beginning of time, there's too much to read and not enough time to do it, and life gets in the way. And like you said, that's part of the college experience is having to juggle all of these different priorities and
Hmm.
learn and figure out what you want to do next. And I can totally see that this is your magic sparkle button
It's pretty
that is
seductive.
Yeah,
yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why they're successful. That's why these tools are successful because they sell you convenience.
But
You're
they're
can't
and
use
they're
the word
also
hype, right? They hype this
mhm,
this shortcut, if you
Hmm.
will, but they don't talk about what you pay, what the consequences are. And I don't mean money, right?
Right.
yeah.
I mean what you pay in terms of your skill development, your ability to critically evaluate, right? Your
Mhm.
ability to then apply those skills to future scenarios. Again, we have the data to show that students who use AI for reading and writing purposes, they fail to retain that information 4 weeks, 4 months afterwards.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I think, what the bigger picture is, so the reason we're talking to you is because there is a switch. The sea is the pond is flipping a little bit. The tide is changing, right? So you were able to, with evidence and argumentation, you change the opinion of a group of people in a room who generally actually were very highly in favor of the original
Mhm.
position. And I think we're seeing more and more research and more critique coming out that is convincing people that these things are problematic. Like we just, and that some of the things that we say to make it seem more acceptable are not really all that smart. We were just talking before we started recording about that Boston Consulting Group, the research on the Boston Consulting Group experts, where a lot of them accepted what an LLM said right out of the gate just because it was easy. But
Even
then when
though they
they,
know that they fabricate, right? They go in
yeah,
knowing that there's going to be
right.
fabrication. They're still not really fact checking, right?
Yeah, so that's bad. And so that's one thing to call out. But then also when they interrogated it, it got more, it tried to be persuasive. It tried to sell itself more in its position more. It dug in. And then it was the whole question of having a human in the loop. And that was another thing that, people say, well, as long as we have a human in the loop, it's fine. But these systems don't seem to respect any human in the loop.
And
So,
also going back to the idea that that human also has to be trained, right?
mhm,
Yeah.
Not only in how to use the LLM, but in the disciplinary content.
right.
So
Yeah.
we're talking about the researchers to reader content conference, right? So you're talking about publishers.
Hmm.
We have a peer review system that has peer reviewers that are experts in that discipline so that they can read the article, right? And give it feedback from their knowledge base, right? They can
Mhm.
say, oh, you're missing this critical point, or, you cited this person, but the original was this person, right? They
Hmm.
bring that knowledge to the peer review process. If you're using an AI, right, to do that peer review process, you have no sense of what disciplinary knowledge that tool has because these data sets are not transparent. We don't know what's in the data. We have
Mhm.
whistleblowers telling us that what's in the data is social media posts,
Reddit,
Wikipedia,
yeah.
copyrighted content that's illegally pirated, and a bunch of nonsense,
Mhm.
right? So, why you would trust that to peer review an academic article to start with,
Yeah.
I don't understand the premise to start, right? But
Right.
also, we know that the algorithms trained these programs to be the word that we often use is sycophantic, tell you what you
Hmm.
want to hear,
Right.
right? So if you're saying, read this and give a review, like it's going to tell you good things, right?
Hmm.
Like it's meant to please you. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's going to tell you like, oh, this does a great job of X, Y, and Z, but it's definitely not going to tell you it's missing this body of research or it needs to include this researcher
Mhm.
that was omitted, right? There's like it's not going to do that work because it's not built to do that work, right?
Well, it's interesting too because one of the things that Joy and I point out is that the pay to play gold open access business model actually makes that kind of review fit a business model better. Because if the review comes back and says, this is really pretty solid and it's great, and then the editor can go, okay, I can then publish it and our company will do better. And so
Or
there's
I
this,
would say it's more of this is not wrong enough to not publish.
right. Yeah, it can be at the whole spectrum, right? It depends on how sycophantic it is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah, so
and
that's another component in this you know AI review cycle is that you don't have even the human in the loop may be relieved because there's so many papers to handle and all of that that they can just go, okay, I've been reassured that I can push this through, and everybody, no one will be on my back about it. Everyone will actually be happy.
this
Hmm.
is again going back to so it's targeting these vulnerabilities we already have. And we do have a crisis in peer review. We have too much content, not enough reviewers, and there's absolutely no reward system for reviewing in higher education. If
Hmm.
I publish papers, that counts for my tenure and promotion. If I review papers, it means nothing. I don't even put that in my tenure and review packet, right? Like
Hmm.
it's there's absolutely no reward for me spending my time to do peer review. I do it because it's mentorship. I think it's important for my field. I learn, from
Hmm.
reading
Right. You
the
get the
papers.
sneak preview of where everybody's headed.
Right, but
Yeah.
there's absolutely no formal reward structure built in for peer review. So until that changes,
Hmm.
we will remain in a peer
Hmm.
review crisis. But furthermore, we know that there's also a crisis in the bias, right? That
Hmm.
certain people's opinions are privileged over others. This was a huge topic of the Researchers to Readers conference, right? Is that the humans are biased. So people are turning to AI to relieve that bias. But that's also a false promise because the data sets that the AI tools used are biased.
Right.
And we
Right. And
Right.
know
the
that
companies that
from
run them are biased
I
too.
have the AI con sitting on my shelf right here, right? We know
Uh-huh.
that from Emily Bender and Alex Hanna's work. We know that
Yeah.
from Tim Gibberu's work. We know this from lots of people's work that the data set, you're not going to get unbiased results
Yeah.
from the
No.
machine just because it's a machine.
And not from
Um,
Mark Zuckerberg or anybody like
right.
that either. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
So there's the again, they're selling they're selling a solution to a problem, a very real problem. The crisis of
Mm-hmm.
peer review is a really big problem, but it's not the right solutions. The right solutions are we need a reward structure for peer review, and we need to make it more about the human connection between mentors and mentees, and not about publishing more papers to make more money,
Hmm.
right? Because that's not the point of research, you know?
Yep. Absolutely. So, what's the most shocking thing you've come across looking at these systems and the claims made about them?
That's a great question. And unfortunately, I think my answer is really dark, but it's the fact of how many actual deaths and self-harm have
Hmm.
happened because of use
Hmm.
of these systems, especially in children.
Hmm.
So, using AI chatbots as your therapist, as your companion, as your romantic partner, as your medical professional, has led to suicidal ideation, self harm, and serious mental illness. And those, the White House just came out with a national policy framework for AI that specifically addresses this. So, I mean, this is, I think, becoming a bipartisan issue is the actual physical harm coming from these tools. And again, about the real crisis that these tools, we have a real crisis of loneliness
Hmm.
in this
Yeah.
Yep.
country and around
Yep.
the world, but
Hmm.
especially in the United States. At Swarthmore, they did a survey of students, and 45% self identified as lonely.
Oh, geez.
Oh. And how many students are on your campus?
1,500.
That's that's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So we have a real loneliness crisis, and it's so bad that now, people are using bots
Hmm.
as their companions,
Right.
bots as their therapists, bots as their doctors, bots as their romantic partners. And that is a real problem. We need to figure out how to address the loneliness crisis that doesn't allow student or anyone, any human, right,
Hmm.
to use these tools as a replacement for human connection because we have seen that the results are actually deadly, right? Like
Yep.
this is I'm not being hyperbolic here, right? These
Mm.
are
Right.
not hyperbole. This is really happening. Nine families just sued Google because their children died
Hmm.
directly because of the use.
Yeah.
AI chatbots. So that's the darkest thing for me is like, why is this not a national crisis, right? Why is this
Right.
not something we're immediately legislating around the world in the same way we've regulated weapons of mass destruction, right? Like this,
Right.
we should be saying like, this is killing kids. We need
Hmm.
to regulate this.
Well, and it's not like we couldn't have seen this coming, right? I was just sharing Mark Zuckerberg yesterday just had to, was found in New Mexico liable for, harm up to children via his platforms and I think $285 million or something,
Oh, it was 375 whole million
whole
dollars.
$1 million. So that's probably what, 10 minutes of meta
Right.
process profits. And
Well, that's the thing is that there's 75 open lawsuits against AI companies right now in America alone, but
right.
they're all being settled and they're all being
Yeah.
Hmm.
settled for some millions of dollars, right? That is a
Right.
drop in the bucket for these companies and the
Yep.
harm is not being reduced.
No.
Right. Right. Yeah, and
Yeah,
that
it's
and that
it's
there's
it's
a,
the
there's a real
cost of
sickness
doing
at the heart of
business.
that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's I know that's very dark, but it is true is that we're we kind of we already demonstrated that this is happening with social media. We know that
Hmm.
this is happening. Social media went completely unregulated, and now the EU, Mexico, right? These places are starting to litigate because of the harm, but we can't,
Hmm.
people say you can't put the genie back in the bottle, right? It's
Hmm.
almost too late for social media, unfortunately, right? Like people's livelihoods are now built around social media in ways like, you saw this with the TikTok debate
Yeah.
in the
Hmm.
United States, right? It's like you
Right.
can't ban TikTok because people's livelihoods are
Because it's a
based on it,
marketing platform now.
right?
Yeah.
So if the same becomes true with AI, if we let it go too long without regulation, it will be too late, right?
Right.
So I like honestly, I don't think any educational institution or publishing firm or anything, surrounding what we consider the support system for education should be engaging with AI until there's regulation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think I also want to point out a rhetorical trap I think maybe you fell into there, which is, and we all fell into with the TikTok ban, right? So they always go to the extreme. They say you can't ban TikTok, but actually you can regulate it, right? You can't ban television, but you can regulate it. You don't ban
Hmm.
radio, but you regulate it. You don't ban newspapers, you don't ban free speech, you regulate it. And so I think that, we need to talk about regulation like adults.
Yes.
And
Mm.
if it's, and age gating or, like I'm still a big fan of the fairness doctrine, which is if, that you have to actually license a, a media source and that license can be revoked. So imagine if
Mhm.
Facebook had a license to operate as a media company
Yeah.
and that
Mhm.
could be revoked by regulators, that would change their behavior significantly without banning them. So I think there's
Yeah,
that
you're
it'll
absolutely
be
right.
good to have a, I hope we can start to have some as media and tech savvy people start to replace the octogenarians at the top of our government.
Yeah.
I hope we can start to have some real good conversations about this kind of
Or
stuff.
just have people in the government who actually know what AI is and what it does. I feel like we have a
Right,
Yeah.
lot of legislators who are being tasked with thinking through these problems when they don't actually have the knowledge of these systems, right?
right. Or
So,
they're too worried about the stock market and
right.
that kind of stuff.
But you're absolutely right. I don't actually think I want to ban AI entirely because there are very beneficial ways of using these tools. Commonly cited one is the looking at medical scans. So it's already been proven that these tools can look at mammograms and detect breast cancer early. Now, the truth of that matter is that it's because of the biased data we have around mammograms, meaning most of the mammogram we have is of wealthy white women, because that
Right,
those are people who get their mammograms, so have
right.
access to mammograms. We have large parts of the population that aren't included in that data set. So yes,
Mhm.
it will make it easier to detect breast cancer in that population.
Hmm. Yep.
Right?
Mhm.
That's wonderful. We've also seen AI used to replant trees after mudslides,
Hmm.
right?
Mhm.
Or using AI to detect ancient languages, like decode
Mhm.
ancient languages and old scrolls, right? I'm
Right.
a
But
library.
it's but
Kind of
but if
stuff
you
is
talk
important.
about it as an inference system, right, then you start to see it as normal tech. It's like
Yeah.
machine learning, but with kind of a little bit more dimensionality to it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. These are tools when applied in a workflow that are more effective. And you don't need to put little sparkles around them and call it magic fairy dust. Just like all sorts of tech and procedures and things like that, this is these are means to an end. And I think that's what's missing in the general AI conversation is the end is open-ended, and the use of AI is the goal as opposed to actually achieving particular things.
It's not the human in the loop. The human is doing the work. It's
Right.
the
Hmm.
AI in the loop,
Yeah.
right?
Right,
And
And
right.
I
that's why I think I hate that phrase so much, is because the human
uh
is not supporting the AI. The AI is supporting the human.
yeah.
Why are
But
we saying the human in loop? No, no, no. We are not there to service AI. AI is here to service us, right? And I don't know if you saw this. This blows my mind every single time I think about it. But there is now a website called rentahuman.ai, and it is for AI agents to rent humans to do their bidding for them. So let me give you an example.
Oh, good
Let's say
God.
I am a
stop it.
human that says to AI, like, I want you to plan my European vacation, right?
Uh-huh.
And then the AI is like, okay, well, you need to buy new luggage. So then the AI goes to rentahuman.ai and it hires a human to go buy you luggage and deliver it to your house.
That's
Because I can't do that.
that's genius. It's like the ultimate like
This really exists. I'm not making this up. It's not science
oh
fiction.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I love it because this has been part of the whole scam the whole time, where this magical AI was trained by humans, particularly in developing countries,
Absolutely.
very highly trained people who were subjected to terrible working conditions, and
Absolutely. And
then
have
they just
long-term traumatic stress because of it.
yeah.
Hmm.
And so now it's yeah,
So now
it's
it's
like
using gig workers, which is another
right.
Yeah,
terrible
exactly.
economic.
Right. Well, why don't we just take the AI part out of it and throw it away and just
Right. Go to the
phone a
store and
phone a friend to
yeah.
Right. Bring back the
call a
human
travel
connection.
agent.
Call a travel agent, right? An actual human that will like
Or
learn about your
stop and
family and
think
care
about
about you. And
it's a long
Yeah.
trip. I'm going to need a bigger bag. Yeah. How hard is that?
I mean,
Anyhow, oh, that's
I have
amazing.
a wonderful colleague here, Abby, our outreach librarian. We share a love of food and restaurants, and she was telling me that she saw an article about humans asking AI what they should order at restaurants. Like they sit down at the
Mhm.
restaurant and they open the menu and they ask AI what they should order. Like how detached from our own like feelings
Well, but
do we
this is
have to
also the
be?
cognitive offloading, right? So, I am married to a big fan of Google Maps. And so when I drive, it bugs her that I will turn it off. And I'm like, there are these things called road signs
Yeah.
that will tell you 2 miles ahead of where the exit is. They're shockingly big too, and persistent.
Yeah.
So, and it's just like remembering that you can navigate the world without a screen,
Mhm.
without offloading anything, and in fact, you tend to notice more, right, about the world around you if you're driving and paying attention to look for the next exit or getting the landmarks straight or whatever. So it's just it reduces so much about us being cool and
Yeah,
amazing.
Mhm.
and again, I actually do see a lot of interesting applications for AI, especially around accessibility, right? So for
Mhm.
neurodivergent folks, for physically disabled folks who these tools can be extraordinarily life-changing. They can add a level of independence, right? Not previously available, but I don't think you need to use it to order at a restaurant, right?
Right.
Or to decide where you want to go on vacation, right?
Or whether you
Um,
need a new suitcase. Yeah.
yeah, right. This is the thing is like, how do we put like you said, these guardrails, these guidelines, these regulations around these tools so that we're not replacing the human connection, but instead we're thinking about what where are these tools actually assisting us to do things we couldn't otherwise achieve, not to
Yeah.
replace things we can already do ourselves and do better. Right.
So, what's your biggest concern when it comes to science and scholarship around the adoption or insertion or presence of these systems?
Well, first of all, I already think that we have a culture of anti-intellectualism, right? So if we think that research can be done by machines, that's only going to increase our
Hmm.
culture of anti-intellectualism, right? Like, why do we need researchers? Why do we need professors? Why do we need doctors if AI can do it? That's a huge risk.
Hmm. And it
Um,
is embedded in there, right?
oh,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah,
right? We can replace faculty members with machines because
right.
I can just create a personalized tutor and my kid can learn from their AI bot. Or I can just create a research bot that's going to do all the medical research for us, right?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Now, aside from just the general culture of anti-intellectualism that supports it, also, again, going back to the fact that we know that the data is biased, it will increase inequality. We have seen cases where these tools have been used to decide mortgages and always privilege, wealthy white families. We have
Hmm.
85% of Fortune 500 companies use them for the first and second round interviews. And the data shows that, of course, it privileges names that sound male, names that sound white, right, in the hiring process.
You wonder
We
why there are so
already,
many Chads.
right. We know that this data is biased. So if we are doing scientific research with biased data, you're going to get biased results and you're going to increase inequalities.
Yep.
But
Hmm.
Yeah.
what we need is
Kathy O'Neill called this a long time ago.
right.
Yep.
Yes. Weapons of math destruction, right?
Yep.
Hmm.
Yes, absolutely. And same with Safia Noble and algorithms of oppression, right?
Hmm.
And of course,
Hmm.
Emily Bender, Stochastic Parrots.
Yep.
Both of the books on my shelf back there, Empire of AI by Karen Howe
That's a
and
great book.
The AI
Hmm.
Con by Alex Hanna and Emily Bender. I mean, I recommended them to everyone.
Yep.
Um,
Have
but
you read
yeah,
Adam Becker's book?
I'm sorry?
Have you read Adam Becker's book?
No, what book is this?
Oh, More Everything
Oh,
Forever. Oh,
Oh no.
that's the third one on your shelf. You gotta grab
yeah.
that one.
Yeah.
It's about the science fiction fantasy that's feeding all of this.
Oh yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
wonderful. I would love that. I mean, I teach a
Yeah.
course called the Cyborg Apocalypse.
Oh, yeah.
It's an English literature course. The
That's
Oh yeah.
students
awesome.
start with Frankenstein and RUR, which is the Czech play that coined the term robot, and they work their way up to modern books. But
Yeah.
they study the sci-fi representation of AI through literature and theory. And of course, you can recognize. I mean, my students actually just finished watching Stepford Wives,
Oh,
Mm,
great.
the
mm.
1975 version, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the creepiest one.
Oh, they absolutely loved it. Their
Oh,
comments
it's
are
great.
hilarious and insightful, but also they're like, "Oh, so everything we've ever watched has been influenced by this." I'm like, "Yep,
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
Yep.
correct."
Yep.
Get Out, Don't Worry, Darling, all of these movies, it's all
Yep.
influenced,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that we do have this kind of like promise of automation that is supposed to be utopian, but really it's always dystopian. And I said it in those comments that I sent you from the debate, but I believe that this is when we're talking about threats to science and threats to the academic community, when we privilege outsourcing this kind of work, this academic knowledge production, right? The knowledge community is being automated by these tools. What we're really talking about is dumbing down our population, right? Is making our population in service to simpler tasks, right? Tasks that
Hmm.
don't require that kind of complex thinking, which makes a pliable uh, population that can be easily persuaded.
Hmm.
We are opening ourselves up to propaganda, to misinformation, and
It's a
ultimately to
power play.
sexism. I
It's
mean,
a
this is
power play.
it's a very it's I saw a bumper sticker on a car in front of me that said, "Make Orwell fiction again."
That's pretty perfect.
I mean, that's what we're talking about, right? We're talking about
Hmm.
making raising like again through the K through 12 and education system, right? Raising a population to not be able to think for themselves and
Hmm.
therefore do what a fascist government wants, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That is exactly what's going on. All right. Well, I have to look at the clock,
Okay,
and
yes.
I know you need to get teaching. So we're going to pivot onto discoveries of the week. All right, so discoveries of the week. And Amanda, as our guest, primary, you get to start.
Wonderful. So
Trying
I
to use
saw,
fancy words because you're an academic and I
Yeah.
totally blew it.
Hey, Amanda, go.
yeah, I saw this really interesting article that was published in Search Engine Land by Danny Goodwin that talks about how Google is testing changing titles in their search. So, if you go to Google and you ask a question, it's going to provide you with a bunch of links. And now you have that AI overview at the top, which tries to summarize what's said in those links so that you don't actually click on them, but you just
Hmm.
trust the AI overview. So the example here that I thought was really interesting is it took a title it sounds very BuzzFeedy, right? But the title was, I used the cheat on everything AI tool and it didn't help me cheat on anything. So that's the original title. But this new um, algorithm is changing that title to just cheat on everything. So that's wildly different, right? It's changing the tone, it's changing the intention, right? It's changing like what the overall search results are then leaning towards how the AI could help you cheat, where the original articles are actually about how AI is not good at helping you cheat,
If that were
right?
a student of yours, you'd flunk it.
So that this is the thing is that it seems harmless. Oh, they're making the titles shorter. No,
Hmm.
it's not harmless at all, right? It's actually an act of persuasion. It's an act of propaganda, right? That's changing your search results to curate what Google wants you to know or thinks you want to know, or based on your previous search history, your filter bubble, your online activity. And we know from Safia Noble and others like that's really problematic because it's limiting your worldview, right? It's only feeding you a very small portion of the world, right?
Hmm.
That it is basing on your friend group on social media, right? Your what kinds of news feeds you pay attention to. And it just reifies, right? Instead of having a debate where you're seeing both sides and could change your
Hmm.
mind, you're only getting the same information fed to you over and over and over again from that really narrow perspective. So it is actually insidious, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
intentional, but it's again kind of being sold as harmless or more efficient
Or helpful. Right,
or
right, right,
helpful.
right.
Yeah.
And I think what's new or is becoming more more prevalent in recent years is that nobody asked for this. They don't do product rollouts. They don't say this is what is new. It's just there.
Just
And
imposed on
and,
you.
and there is no way for anybody to backtrack from that or
Turn it off.
to turn it
Yes.
off.
Yeah.
And
Unless you
people.
just go to use DuckDuckGo, people.
Right, but
Yeah,
that
but
that's such a small portion of
yes.
the population who's going to do that. There's
Oh, I
no
know.
way to
Yeah.
educate people on
So
how to use these things.
yes, this is actually, I teach a class on AI for 60 to 80-year-olds at
Awesome.
Swarthmore Borough Community Center. And
Wonderful.
this group is particularly vulnerable to this kind of scams, AI
Mhm.
scams, right? And they voluntarily take this class, right? They just come of their own free time to learn about AI from myself and Liz, the Emerging Technologies Fellow I mentioned before. And we go into great depth about this, about kind of like how they're being scammed through these tools. And we actually, many of them said, well, how do I turn it off? How do I turn it off on my phone? How do I turn it off on Google? How do I turn it off on Facebook? And we said, we can teach you how to do that today, but as soon as your phone updates, it's going to change.
Yeah.
As soon as your Gmail updates, it's going to change. And they
Yeah.
purposely, right, automatically turn it on. They make it very difficult to turn it off. And then there's even subtle changes. So with Google, if you turn off the AI results, but you upvote something, it turns it back on.
Mm.
Like there are
Wow.
these
They
subtle
hide
things that
little
they put
As
in.
soon as you
tripwires
as
in
soon
there,
as you
huh?
touch it. Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
Yes. If you upvote some results, then it turns it back on,
Oh,
right? So,
you tech companies, just stop it. Just stop it, please.
right. So our answer to them was like, we can tell you how to do this today, but it's not going to last, right? And
Yeah.
for
yeah.
us in the library world, we are turning off those magic sparkles in our databases, but then they're being, implemented in other ways, and we're constantly having to reevaluate. We're constantly having to communicate to our community what we have control over and what we don't have control over, and
Hmm.
how they might be actually using AI without even knowing it, right, through some of these tools. And it's a constant battle. It's relentless, right?
Yeah.
And how fast it changes and how little control we have over it.
And there's such a market right now for all startups, one after the other, popping up like dandelions or toxic mushrooms.
The desire to be
And
acquired is strong.
right. And so in order to, to get their foot in the door, they're going to be on the open web, right? And so they're going to be the latest, greatest thing. And so there's so much financial incentives for people to be putting crappy AI products out there, that even there's no way to counteract that, with the ones that you can even identify.
You can see why this is the shortening of the titles that we were talking about. You can see why this is a huge problem for librarians,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Discoverability is our job, right?
Right.
Helping people discover reliable information about a topic is the
Hmm.
job of librarians. And if you're talking about students, faculty members, community members are coming to you with fake sources, fake titles, you know, and saying, "How do I find this?" And it doesn't even,
Hmm.
it either doesn't exist or doesn't exist in the format it was
Right.
presented to you in, it's made our job so much harder.
Uh, well, I don't envy you.
Yeah, well, my discovery of the week is actually it's making me a little uncomfortable now given this conversation. So it's it's my son likes to cruise Wikipedia. I think it's his morning page, and he came across something local here in Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, called Busta Rhymes Island, which is in Mill Pond in Shrewsbury. It's a 40 by 40-foot island that was named by Kevin O'Brien in 2005 because he started to take care of the island. He would take his kayak or canoe out there and kind of go out there and make it nice. And he said he called it Busta Rhymes Island because it had a rope swing, blueberries, and stuff Busta would enjoy. But the U.S. Board on Geographic Names won't accept it because Busta Rhymes is still alive, and you have to be dead at least 5 years for a geographic name to be adopted by them. However, activists have made it a name on Google Maps, and you can find it there. And then a petition has been created for the board to recognize the name and to have an exception for it. It was also featured as a geonym, which is a word I hadn't gotten in my head before, but this is why we explore the world, people. And it was there was an episode of 99% Invisible that featured it. So I am very proud to know that I live within 20 miles of Busta Rhymes Island and that it has a rope swing and blueberries and stuff Busta would enjoy. That was my discovery of the week.
I thought our discoveries had to do with AI, but that's lovely. It has nothing to do with AI. It's wonderful.
No, it's just a
Oh
totally
no.
random.
Yeah.
Well, and I had heard about this, and it's because yeah, this guy just he found this, island and and named it in Google Maps, and
Yeah,
great that
and
people can
that's
do
great.
that.
Yeah, that's called freedom, people. That's awesome.
It reminds me of when we talked about one of our first discoveries of the week when Kent and I started doing this podcast was about apples, and I discovered the ludicrous apple. And so I was thinking they should have a plant a ludicrous apple tree on Busta Rhymes Island.
I'll talk to Mr. O'Brien about that if I run into him.
If you want a discovery of the week that has nothing to do with AI whatsoever, the NPR Science podcast taught me that bull sharks make friends. So,
Oh,
Oh,
we know that dolphins are
mm-hmm,
live in pods. Whales live in family units, but they always thought sharks were independent. But bull
mm-hmm.
sharks, they just discovered that bull sharks make friends, which I love, and my 8-year-old loves. My 8-year-old
That's
loves sharks.
cool.
So
oh,
that's cool. If they
that
want a
Yeah,
very
is.
non-AI discovery of the week, bull sharks make friends.
that's
There we
great.
go. That's awesome. All right, Joy, do you have one?
I have one that has nothing to do with sharks or AI, but has something to do with how awesome Philadelphia is. So I came across this morning, um, and Apparently, I'm just going to read it because I don't think I can summarize it as well as the news article did. So, as airports across the country scramble to prevent long lines, Philadelphia's created one, breaking the world record for the longest line of cheesesteaks. A Guinness World Record setting 1,291 cheesesteaks spanned the length of more than 3 football fields on Tuesday, yesterday, which was National Cheesecake Day.
Cheesesteak Day.
Cheesesteak Day. Yeah.
Oh,
So they did this in the Philadelphia airport.
they really did it in the airport?
Yep,
Did they give them to the people who are waiting in these lines?
airport restaurants and local suppliers contributed ingredients that totaled 225 pounds of cheese sauce, 990 pounds of shaved ribeye, and more than 1,200 rolls. The line stretched through nearly the entire concourse between terminals B and C.
Oh, that's awesome.
We went for the world record for the longest cheesesteak in history, said Clarence Lejeune of Marketplace PHL, a place I know very well. Today we accomplished that goal here in Philadelphia. And so after the Guinness World Records adjudicator measured the line, the cheesesteaks were served to
Wait, wait,
travelers.
wait, 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 wait. You cannot skip his name.
Michael Emprick.
It looked like empiric to me, like empirical.
Oh,
I
Oh,
mean, what a great name for an adjudicator.
yeah.
yes. Well, that is a fancy name for a fancy job.
Yeah.
And the cheesesteaks were served to travelers, airport workers, and TSA staff who have been working without pay during the partial federal government shutdown.
Oh, that
So,
is a
Leave it
great
to
one.
Philly to take a terrible situation and make it an opportunity to serve cheesesteaks.
right, they accomplished multiple goals. They got the world record. They fed people.
I love it.
And they made standing in line much more tolerable.
I
Mhm.
love it. So
I'm sure for
Concord
that
C,
time.
that's because I have TSA pre-check and only C
Yep.
Oh,
as
so
pre-check. So that is
that's
my
your
line.
home.
Yep.
That's my line that I go to very often.
That's awesome. All right, Amanda. Well, thank you so much for the time today, and it was great talking to you. I look forward to talking to you later too.
Thank you
Yeah.
both so much.
It was great to meet you. We appreciate your time.
Thanks. Have a great day.
You
You too.
too.
Bye. All right. Well, that was great,
That was such a fun conversation.
and we got 2 discoveries of the week from her. So
Yeah.
bonus. So thanks, Amanda. That was fantastic. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to our friends at Provoke the Truth for the music. If you have topics you want us to cover, please email us at disruptedscience@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. You can also keep up with developments at the Geyser, where you can subscribe to support our efforts. And thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone. See you later.